What is up, guys? So I have a Work Tuff Gear knife for you today, and I gotta tell you, spoiler alert, I freaking love this knife. Okay guys, at this point I did do some cutting with the knife. At this point, as I'm airing this video, I did all the cutting with it, and I gotta tell you, I am just very, very impressed with this particular knife. This is called the Carnivore. This is a collaboration between Outer Limitless, which is Eric Outer. I'll leave a link to his channel. Definitely check him out. He's got a great channel. You'll enjoy everything he does. He does knives, survival, all that stuff. Definitely check out Eric Outer. I'm actually looking forward to meeting Eric at the next Blade show. We spoke a bit of late and about his knife and all that. Eric Outer designed this particular knife. It's called the Carnivore from Work Tuff Gear. Work Tuff Gear just basically takes designs and they just turn it into something magnificent. Can't emphasize enough how good Work Tuff Gear is in terms of making a design into something a winner. Ruggedness of it, the durability of it, taking these designs and making them into something really amazing. Very big on the appearance of the knife and fit and finish of the knife, and the aesthetic of this knife is absolutely fantastic. Now, if you look at this knife, this is kind of classified as a tanto type of knife, because I guess it's got kind of like a tanto style type of Japanese tanto style blade. I don't think that's what Eric Outer was kind of going towards. I think I spoke to him himself and he kind of calls this like a straight back design, and it looks like kind of like a clip point type of tip, but it would, I guess I can see how they would call it a tanto type of blade. Now, the way Eric had explained this knife to me, the way his conception as far as what he was looking for in terms of this particular design, he designed it for like a general camp use, wood processing, and hard wilderness, like a hard wilderness use. But he never discounts the fact that any of the designs of his knives are without any type of a fighting or self-defense type of flair. And I can see that because the balance of this knife, and Work Tuff Gear just does it so well, the overall balance of this knife is just really fantastic in the hand. And I gotta tell you, this finger choil makes all the difference in the world. Now, when I was cutting with it, I'd cutting some wood with it, it was fine when you were kind of just using it, you know, from the handle itself. But when you kind of move your hand over to this finger choil here, it just, the overall design of it and how it was made and how it just came together, the type of the control, that added control that you have on the knife is like apples and oranges. It was good, but it's a lot better when you kind of really tighten up on that grip. This generous finger choil here, you're able to really wood process like you've never seen before. This is probably one of the best wood processing knives, fixed blades that I've had in my hands. It really is that freaking good. And I really love the handle. The handle, I mean, is, I'll get into all the specs, but it's a sizable handle. There's really no hand on the planet that is going to have a problem gripping this. You have also a grip that you can go all the way back with and use it to chop, which you'll see that as well. But this is pretty much a grip for anyone to be comfortable with, from anywhere from medium to large to XL hands, probably a 2XL hands. You got a lot of real estate here, a lot of purchase here that you can definitely go in with whatever size hands you have. And especially if you add in that finger choil here, you have all the room in the world to find any possible comfortable position that you want on this knife. I think you'll be able to find reverse grip. Everything is extremely comfortable. Now, the GNC machined handle that Work Tuff Gear produces is just ultra good, ultra clean, no hot spots. They just do such a great job. I'm a particular big fan of this particular handle. It's got like a gator style type of handle. Now, if you really, it's the curious thing about this thing is, if you really look at, I'm going to tell you because you can't feel it, but it's got a texture to it, kind of like gator scales. Now, I'm not telling you that I touch gators all the time. I'm a New York guy, not from Florida. I don't think even Florida people want to be like caressing, you know, hugging a gator or anything like that. I did touch at a zoo like a, you know, baby gators or something like that. So it definitely has that type of texture of gator skin on here, and it's pretty amazing how it looks like a gator and it has that textured gator skin on here on the G10, and it just, I can't amplify enough the type of grip that the comfortable grip that you have holding this in your hand. Whatever you're doing with it, it felt completely comfortable in my hand. Now, when I was cutting with it, I was wearing gloves because we just had a snowstorm today. I was actually able to even go out and do any cutting at all, so I was able to do something for you. It was kind of cold, so I kept gloves on, but you know, holding it in your hand, you can feel the grip as soon as you get this in your hand, and immediately as soon as you hold it in your hand, you feel the balance of this knife. It's just an overall balance that no matter how you hold it or how you position it, it feels absolutely fantastic in the hand, and you always feel like you have control of the tip, control of the blade, and just you tighten that up with that finger choil, and it's just wow. It's pretty much freaking that good. It's a wood processing freaking beast. In terms of being a camping knife, 100% great camping knife. Self-defense, fighting knife. It's got a point, it's got an edge, it's got balance, it's got purchase. You're going to be able to use this as self-defense. I didn't do any food prep for you because obviously you can use your imagination with this straight edge and this type of, you know, I think it's an 8-inch blade, about an 8-inch blade, a little bit more. This is a great food prep, camping food prep type of knife as well. Now, I didn't particularly look at the Gen 1. This is a Gen 2 Carnivore. The Gen 1, I never had my hands on, but I know on their website they let you know what they improved on Gen 2. I'll tell you that right now. They said that they upgraded the fuller on here. They slightly thinned out the thickness behind the edge, or the TBE, which it was about 1/4 inch, and it's slightly less wide at about 0.23. It's got a darkened finish for better rust resistance, obviously because it's a high carbon steel, and it does have a wonderful pancake style Kydex sheath with more versatility functions. Now, I didn't mention it yet, but the Kydex sheaths that Work Tuff Gear produces are flawless. They click, they don't move, they don't rattle, you don't feel anything. It's just they're all MOLLE compatible. You could obviously it comes with the belt clip and stuff like that you can put on. They're perfectly made for the knife. You got the Work Tuff Gear symbol here. Big fan of all of their Kydex sheets. They have all been pretty much extremely sharp, okay, out of the box. They pride themselves out of giving you a very robust type of edge, not brittle, but also very sharp out of the box, so it's going to do its thing. Any knife that I've had in my hand from Work Tuff Gear has been screaming sharp right out of the box. Now, this particular grind is a saber grind with a convex edge, which is my absolute favorite. That just shows you're able to get a nice keen edge, but also have a lot of beef behind the edge, so this will be a big hitter. Work Tuff Gear knives in general are very hard hitters. That's how they're made. You have, look, I mean, the thickness of the spine is absolutely amazing. Coming in at almost 1/4 inch, they thinned it out a little bit from Gen 1, but you still got such a large stock behind the edge that you have no problem hard using these knives. Work Tuff Gear, that's pretty much why they named it that way, because all their knives are pretty much made to be hard hitters and hard users. So obviously this knife is a full tang, beautiful full tang all the way around, extremely solid construction like you would expect from all Work Tuff Gear knives. The overall length is a very healthy 13.9 inches. The blade length itself is about 8.1 inches. It's got a lot of real estate there, a lot of purchase for you to do a lot of stuff with it. The cutting edge itself, aside obviously because you have a healthy finger choil there, is around 7 inches. The blade thickness, like I said, is shy under 1/4 inch, about 0.23. The type of grind, like I said, one of my favorite types of geometrics is a saber grind with a wonderful, very solid, very durable convex cutting edge. Like I said, the blade shape is a Tanto style blade. The blade steel, SK85, like nobody does SK85 like Work Tuff Gear. SK85 is a Japanese tool steel, a high carbon Japanese tool steel, which is equivalent to a 1085. It's extremely durable, extremely tough. The edge retention is not said to be that high on the SK85, but I think it's actually good enough where you can basically get through many cutting sessions, very hard cutting sessions, before you really feel like you have to hone it up too much, where it's going to be losing ability or anything like that. The particular finish on the blade is a limited edition. I'm not sure if they're going to do a hard production run on them, but this particular knife, which again came from me as a sample from Work Tuff Gear, True Scab from Quiet Boys Outdoors, so it was given to me as a sample to review for you. But this particular knife, is a limited edition. It's a toxic apocalypse stain on the blade, which is mad cool. I haven't seen anything like this on their website. I guess you can inquire from within if they're going to do any more runs of this particular stain, that apoc toxic type of stain on the knife, which I'm a really big fan of. I love the look of it. The knife weight comes in at about 18.3 ounces, but again, it's a little bit more of a weighty type of blade, but the balance is so well distributed that you don't feel it. No matter how you hold this thing, I can't emphasize enough, it feels extremely controllable and balanced in the hand. Now, this cutting session probably wasn't going to happen because we did have a big snowstorm in the city today, well, in Long Island, the city, all over the region, and this segment is probably going to run a little bit longer than I normally do on my knife reviews, but this knife was just a lot of freaking fun to play with, and I found myself really just going at it and cutting with it. This is some industrial strength ratchet straps, kind of like equivalent to like cutting through like a seatbelt or something like that, and it handled it well. It's a great knife. It's got a great edge to it. I mean, it's got a great point to it, a reinforced tip, a beautiful spine. It's a very capable knife. And there's a lot of footage I cut out of this. And that didn't even make it to the final cut. But this is just trying to kind of penetrating and also cutting. I call it PS, penetration and slicing. And it did a pretty good job. The rating on PS on this knife, I would say probably around 6, because it doesn't have like a very refined point, a very strong point, a refined tip, great stabbing knife, and you're not going to see any damage. But it's more of a great slicer, once you get the edge in there. It went through this, steel reinforced tubing pretty well. Now, some may ask, why do I use these materials? I try to use the same test with pretty much all the knives, so you can see basically how each knife handles each particular test. And it also tests the edge, tests the heat tempering, how the smith did his job in terms of tempering the blade so it can handle and the edge retention stays well and there's no chips or any damage or anything like that. This is cutting through like an old sneaker. I'm just trying to find a lot of different things to put a lot of pressure and use on the edge to give you an idea of how much these knives can take and how well they're made. Again, these are just now basic tests of seeing how sharp the edge still is, camp rope, cutting through the water hose and things like that. Now, what I didn't mention also, it's got a completely perfect 90-degree angle on the spine, and not just the spine near the handle. The entire spine all the way to the tip is completely perfect 90 degrees. I mean, look at those freaking sparks that this thing is jumping off this knife. Really amazing. Now, this is where really the knife shines for me. This is, I've never thought I would like a knife this size to do wood processing, but adding that finger choil in just completely changes the whole dimension of this knife. It goes from being a good chopper or a good processor of large pieces of wood or batoning or something like that, that if you really want to just feather, just whittle with a piece of wood, maybe making up some shavings for firewood and things like that, when you add that finger choil in, completely changes the whole feel of this knife, and you have utter and complete control over the point and the edge of the knife when you just move your finger up to that finger choil. Just want to commend the designer, I mean Eric, for the design of this knife and how it just kind of came into it just fell into place with how Work Tuff Gear kind of made it up. It just it's a very comfortable knife, and it has many different uses in terms of using as a camp knife, and it just I like the different holds that you can get on this knife to do different types of things. So it varies, and for me this knife kind of turned into me like a more of a total utilitarian type of knife. Now here I was going for trying to make a spear or a spike for a camp or something like that, and perfect. It's exactly what it did, and it achieved exactly what I wanted to do. Look at those fine shavings there. It just handled itself extremely well. Now this is kind of just taking a 4x4, which I'm running out of space on this thing, kind of use it for chopping tests. But this knife, I wasn't really hitting this hard. This thing really was working on its own as far as just getting into, really getting deep bites. You could see that wood really flying off this 4x4, and you can see I'm taking a grip all the way in the back to have more momentum and more force into the hit, and it just goes right into it. This is not a very big knife. It's only about a pound, a little over a pound. It's not very heavy, but just the way the handle is formed and the way you can grip it and hold it and get that momentum from holding it back, and also the great work they did it on the edge and the thick spine and the stock of the spine and all that. It just, again, it goes from being a good fine woodcutter, slicer, to being also a very good hard-hitting, wood chopper, of which you're seeing right here. Look at the bites that this freaking thing took out of that wood. And of course, because you have such a great, healthy stock on the spine, this is going to be an amazing batoner. If you want to baton wood with it, absolutely no problems whatsoever. And again, not all knives handle themselves the same. You could have, and that's also, having this size blade also gives you the option of doing more batoning with it. And it's just, I mean, here, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of hitting into, just really putting more pressure on the edge to see if I can't find any way of damaging it. Not like I'm trying to, but just show you how much this thing can handle. And just batoning after batoning after batoning, this thing kept on going, and it was a pleasure to baton with, a pleasure to use, and a pleasure to see how it performs. And after all that, I went to whittling again, some wood, and again, see the slices it's taking, and I found myself, as I'm, with any new knife, you have to kind of get used to holding it and get used to using it to really see the full potential. It's about basically also improving your skill set, like Scab says, to get the full potential of the knife rather than the knife not performing because you're not, using it the right way. So as I'm using it more and more through this just one session, I found myself getting more adapt to how it should work. And the final test here, going through a steel belted tire and cutting right through it to see again how the edge is holding up, and if it's going to develop any chips or anything like that, that might concern you. Again, steel belted tires have damaged many knives on me in the past. Now, with the naked eye, I could not find any damage on this knife whatsoever. Look at that beautiful reinforced tip and the spine. It's just, the knife handled itself well. I was just very impressed, and it was a lot of fun to use it. Look at the magnifying glass, guys. It's very hard. You're very hard pressed to kind of find anything on the edge to say that there's any chips or anything like that. Let's do a fingernail test to basically see if there's any chips or anything like that are microscopic. To begin, I mean, to the eyes, I really, even under a magnifying glass, I can't see any chips or anything on the edge. So if we kind of just take our thumb, the nail, and just kind of, so right now it's glassy smooth, all glassy smooth. Right here, there's a little bit of a little microscopic chip right there. And then it's kind of glassy smooth. So probably right here and maybe right here towards the closer to the handle here, but other than that, it's completely glassy smooth. You know that basically if you're sliding it along, if it feels like you're sliding it on glass, you know that the edge is perfectly fine, but you know if there's any type of a chip, you can feel it in the nail that there's a little abrasion there. So, but it's actually right around here, but again, even with under a magnifying glass, I wasn't able to see it. So I would say if you put this kind of on a honing belt or some stones, you'll bring this right back to form. It'll be razor sharp as it was before. But again, I was a little rough on it using steel belted stuff because that definitely does a number on the edge. But again, credit to basically the heat tempering and how good these Work Tuff Gear knives are. There's no major chips or nothing that's really even a conversation that can't be fixed with even probably a honing belt or even stropping it. It'll probably be absolutely fine. So really no problems or nothing alarms me at all with this particular edge. And I can't say that about all the knives I test in the same manner. So this is definitely passed with flying colors. Many thanks to Work Tuff Gear for allowing me to review this knife. Thanks for Scab for kind of making it happen. Much appreciated. I'm hoping to get my hands on a lot more Work Tuff Gear knives, because I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of Mr. Vic. I met him at Blade Show. I'm a big fan of Zeke Manacho, David Pouzon, all of the guys that are involved with Work Tuff Gear, and now Eric Outer doing designing for them as well. Eric, you did a great job. You hit this out of the park. I am a big fan of this knife. Big fan of how good it is as a camp knife. It is definitely probably one of the best wood processing knives I've had in my hand in a very long time. This is probably one of the top 5 I've had in my hand. And it just did a great job. Comfortable at all times, no hot spots, great handle, great design, and great overall job from Work Tuff Gear as always. So hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you have any questions, leave it down below. I'll leave some links to Outer Limitless, to Eric Outer, and some of his stuff. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace to you. And before you leave, definitely take a look at this video coming up. Always appreciate it, guys. Have a great one until the next sword and knife video. I'll see you when I see you. Ciao.